Hello and welcome back to Sarah's Spare Corner. My name is Sarah. I am the host of Sarah's Spare Corner. Sarah's Spare Corner encompasses gaming, as well as arts, crafts, and various different forms of creativity. Additionally, I like sharing theories, concepts, and ideas as I am a philosophy major, and when I'm not poor, I might travel places and I might post about it. This video started off as supposed to be just a regular gameplay video, but it turned into a building video. And also, OBS hates me. So the first two clips, absolute garbage, and I am so sorry. We're basically going to be watching this 2x speed video in snapshots, pardon me, for the first two videos. And so I'm going to try to explain what happened here. I think the first thing is that the audio didn't keep. What it actually did is it only recorded 30 to 40 minutes of the total hour that I recorded for the first two clips. And then on top of that, the entire footage was just clunky. And I think this has happened in one of my other previous videos as well. So I'm gonna have to delete OBS and start all over. But for the point of this video, I had the intention to build the front pathway of my zoo, which I had been wanting to do for a while now, but I was like, well, I don't have money. But in the last episode of this Planet Zoo series, I all of a sudden had money. But I thought, well, I did want to do a walkthrough exhibit of king penguins. And I'm like, oh, well, let's put down a fence here and determine whether or not I'll still have space for the Igloo castle as well as the king penguins. And the answer was no, because there was too much condension, that's not it. You know what I mean, the word I'm looking for. I'm still sick, by the way, so please don't mind my voice. I am getting much better though. But yeah, I definitely pre-recording this video in advance because I'm taking the month of May off from streaming, so figured get this stuff out now. But anyways, I determined that there was not enough space between the Igloo, the King Penguin exhibit, and then the main central station, the Christmas tree. So I decided, you know what, let's just finally go in, build this Igloo. Now, I want to start off by saying I'm very aware that it's janky. I'm very aware that there are pieces that look funky. Part of it is I know that I haven't fully unlocked all of the building materials yet because I am at the start of my playthrough. And so hasn't been enough research on a lot of the items. So even just like unique glass pieces, which I think comes later, I don't have those. So I couldn't really build a proper dome looking. Also certain pieces, for some reason, they don't curl, whereas other ones do, or not curl, but you can't move them facing down. They can only stand facing up. So that was kind of a big issue. Here's what I'm doing is I'm putting down the face of the Igloo. Now, I saw someone online once upon a time, they would put a piece down and then they would spread out the piece on the same grid, far along, say, maybe 20 meters away. And then they would duplicate and twist it so that there were two side pieces. And then they would keep going around in a rotation period. Obviously, I can't show you here, but they would keep going around in a rotation period in order to get the most circular looking sphere. So that was kind of the method I did here with the walls, because what I was trying to do was not working. And so I think the next clip you'll see is actually what the Igloo looks like after that, because we are coming up to the next clip, or snapshot clips, I guess. Yeah, so here is kind of how the angle ended up looking out. It wasn't that bad, actually, but I have noticed that one side is a little bit more crooked than the other one, because I noticed that as I start building up the ceiling and everything, that tends to be the biggest issue. But it's okay because I made it work. Dear God, I'm so sorry. But I kind of wanted to I think I was pretty happy with the way this looked out, but I was like, how am I going to build this ceiling? How am I going to cap off the entranceway? And honestly, when I was building it, I'm like, this looks too small. Like, I don't know if this is a good decision. Am I placing this right here? Like, all the, you know, the the uncertainties, I guess. I'm very glad the way it turned out. The one thing I found kind of annoying is I had to, like, certain pieces just would not duplicate for some reason. I think it was because they were considered to be a group. Even though I tried to remove them from the group, for some reason, like, certain pieces, you couldn't duplicate them together. So what I had to do is I had to make blueprints of specific pieces. So, like, this overhang with the icicle, which I end up changing later because when I put down the actual entranceway, I put the icicles on the entranceway instead of this. Actually, what I could have done is probably put the icicles on the top of the arches. But anyway, there is also some things that are unfinished about this. So I do cap off the doors, and there is a solid wall piece between the bottom entryway and then the arches on top. And they're just plain snow pieces. So I think at some point I will want to go in, maybe, you know, put some kind of title, or I could put some kind of decoration there, but I do not do that in this video because, again, I knew going in that I didn't have enough of the pieces that I wanted to use, and simply the reason why I didn't just stop while I was ahead and wait until all the pieces came in, I accidentally deleted a lot at the very beginning, which you don't see because snapshots of this entire video. I deleted a lot and tried to reverse it all, and then it came to a point where it just didn't reverse, and I was like, well, whatever, I want to do this anyways, might as well. So I kind of just decided to YOLO, basically. This particular castle, I think, took me, if I'm looking at all the recordings, took me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe about 6, maybe 5.5 hours, I'm thinking, maybe 6.5, somewhere in that, to make. So this is also something that's, like, kind of a little and the reason why it's a kind of a little bit of a for me is, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, because I'm choosing to do this, but I don't own G4's subscription. So I am kicked out once every hour of Planet Zoo, which is why, of course, I make my videos on Planet Zoo to be like 1 hour, just straight playthrough, unedited, because it kind of is something that I can't control unless I decide to cough off $30 a month, in which case I'm too poor, can barely pay my bills, so no. And I think it's served me pretty well in terms of regular playthrough, but in terms of building videos, it is a little bit more complicated because obviously you don't want the game cutting you out every hour when you're in the middle of the groove of creativity and building. Now, I know that this isn't the greatest structure. I know that it's not pristine or, like, uniquely pretty, if you will, but I do feel good about it. And I don't know, maybe it's because this is the first big build that I've done in Planet Zoo. Like any other time that I've spent playing Planet Zoo has been in the tutorial mode, and why would you put all this effort in the tutorial mode? So this, now we're finally getting into the actual build, and then it did cut off a bunch of, you know, clips, unfortunately. So this is kind of how it looked. I was trying to cap off some of these spaces that look kind of awkward, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll put the information center in this particular corner. And then I think in a couple of seconds, you'll see that in another corner, I put a bathroom. That was, yeah, so here we go. I'm copying that off. I was able to make one layer of windows, which I thought would be really nice for natural light. And then we're kind of looking at how we're going from here. I think what I'm trying to determine is, how do I want to build this? Like, do I want to do another layer of snow and then build in the curvature. And I'm like, no, we're going to do immediate going into the curvature. And I was trying to determine, do I want to make it ice? Do I want to make it snow? I think I determined that I would make it snow so that if the snow is falling, that is the first thing that catches on the top. Like if you think about it this way, when it snows or rains, right, the top piece would be the one that would kind of collect, right? So the snow is kind of collecting on top of the igloo / castle, whereas at the bottom where the ice is, the snow is kind of fallen off, and so all that remains is the underlayer of ice. So that's kind of how I was thinking when I built this. Again, I know this isn't the most pretty structure, but again, I feel pretty good about it. I was trying to maneuver with the pieces I did have in the game. I don't know if you've seen the recent release of Planet Coaster. I've been seeing a lot of people play with it. And honestly, like, as much as I'm very excited for this new pack that just came out for Planet Zoo, I'm also really excited for just Planet Zoo 2 coming out, whenever that is, because I would really like the pathing system that is in Planet Coaster 2, and I would also really like just different maneuverable pieces, because these pieces, as much as I maneuvered as best as I could, and I feel like I did a really good job, it would just still be nice if there was something a little bit more easier to work with. But overall, like, now that I'm looking at it here, like, I feel like I did pretty good for what I have. So I did duplicate, and then I moved it to the other side, and then basically had to like reform every single piece. But it kind of worked out though, because at least I didn't have to drop every individual piece this way. But yeah, the two pieces completely different. They're like sisters, not twins. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't align the same way. It might have been like the way I was going about it on one side versus another, because even where the pillars come in, on the doorways, they don't really match either. So I had to kind of improvise. But yeah, I decided the second layer of the snow pieces needed to be more curved in. So, because I think the third layer is when we go with the igloo top. So this is kind of how I determined to go about this piece. 2 layers of snow bricks, and then the glass for the sunroof. And at some point, I would like to add lights. I am still a daytime zoo because I haven't gone in and added particular lights to any areas. It's also because I haven't unlocked a lot of pieces in the building. So for now, we're not going to add any light fixtures. I think at some point I even like consider it in one of the things that I built later in this igloo castle. And I just remove it because I'm like, well, if we're being honest, like, let's not put any lights down now because I don't even know if I'll find something better later on. So why put this down now if I don't even want it there in the first place? And I think the biggest issue I notice is just this particular capping off of the pillars. But I also know that I have 2 pillars on this particular igloo castle. So I do end up building it up later, but for now we are still working on the walls. And yeah, I think this is where we see like the biggest difference between the 2 pieces is just how much there is an open space between the pillar on the one side, like, because there's 2 pillars on each side. So the smaller pillar that is meant to block off these topper pieces. And oh yes, and then I guess I remember now, I think I had to save, right? That's right. I was like, what's happened here? Yes. So I guess either it didn't save, or I think what happened is I just decided to pause because I needed a break. Doing this after 6 hours. I think you didn't miss much though, if we're being honest. If it was just stopped recording here, because you can't really see what's going on here, to be honest. Or you can, but like, sorry, that didn't make any sense. We capped off those pieces, and now we're just kind of capping off this area to make it a little bit more, so it didn't look so open-ended, because I was like, these arches look odd. I don't like how they're sitting. So Oh, and then we also put on the front face. So yeah, I guess the recording kind of cut out here. How nice. This has been a fun recording time, hasn't it? But it's all good. It's all good. So yes, we did add the archways for the entryway of this particular castle. And then we kind of cap off the areas. I think I make a blueprint here because, again, yes, they don't let me duplicate. I don't know why. They're very particular about, or this game is very particular about what I can duplicate and when I cannot. I find that so odd. Okay, yeah. So here we go. We are in our next set of building. And this is where we start to work on the igloo top. Again, I know it's not the prettiest thing that exists. I know it's not perfect, but it's mine, and I feel good about it. And I don't think anyone can take that away from me. Here's where I added those pillar pieces in order to kind of block off the sections of the igloo. Kind of building up these wall pieces so that it is not as weird looking. I think I tried to add these triangle pieces in order to cap off these sides, but because of it being not more of like a I can't remember what it's called, a particular geometry piece that is just not that. Unfortunately, it didn't fit, and also those triangle pieces were way too big, and I don't think you can individually size those. So I decided the best way to deal with it is just leave it open. Just leave it open. Honestly, probably what I could do at some point is maybe just cover it with a planter or something. And then I wanted to readjust this because I was like, the bathroom looks ridiculous here, the way it's protruding. And I also wanted the bathroom here because it makes sense to put it here. And then I also realized that the glass for some reason was looking odd. So yeah, we can kind of see the inside of that archway there. Obviously, we can add more attention to detail. At some point, we can add lights, maybe add some sculptures, something like that. At the beginning of my playthrough, I did kind of mention that I originally wanted like a Grinch-inspired zoo. So I have to look on the Steam store at some point and find some kind of sculpture that somebody else made of the Grinch. Because I swear, I know for a fact somebody did Grinch. Like, I don't know who it is, but I know for a fact someone's done a sculpture of the Grinch. So we're going to have to go looking later before I forget, to be honest. But we're probably going to do that in May, so hopefully I don't forget. Okay, so now we are building up the last layer that leads into the glass tower of the igloo. And I think, even though I said earlier, it's definitely going to be just 2 layers. I think I determined at this point, I'm like, no, it's probably better we do 3. So it actually looks like what we're doing here. This piece, this layer, was the most awkward to work with. Just honestly, just janky. I know it's janky, but I was able to, because like one of the biggest things that I think was more important to me than the jankiness was making sure all of the cracks were completely covered. And I think that's what I prioritized over looks. So if it looks funny, I think it's just because I tried to make sure that there were no weird holes between one layer and another one. So even here, like, I'm like, I see those issues there. And so there are like some odd doubling pieces just because of that that preservation of making sure that this is actually an enclosed space that kind of creates the janky issue. But I feel like overall, I honestly don't even care that much. Like I do. I did say, because I was originally just recording my voice for all of this, but since like half of the video cut out, something that I did mention that these top pieces kind of reminded me of was like really crooked teeth. When I was a kid, I had very crooked teeth, and I was made fun of it. Made fun of for it. I had very crooked teeth, partly because I had like 2 extra teeth in my mouth as a child, like 2 extra adult teeth on top of my wisdom teeth, and all my baby teeth didn't want to come out. They were like still well rooted when I was in grade 6. So I had surgery to have all my teeth removed. So I had like 4 teeth in the front, 4 in the bottom of my mouth, and then all the rest of my teeth were basically gone. And I was excused from gym for like a month. And there was this friend that I had that I was fighting with, and she thought I was just faking it. Anyways, all that to say, like, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody for crooked teeth, because I had really crooked teeth after that surgery. So, anyways, so we're going in with the glass piece. I had the hardest time knowing where these pieces begin and where they end, because when you kind of get close to the layer, they don't really show you, unless there is like a unique look that they're overlaying, whether or not they're actually aligned or touching, especially when they're that close together. So I had to go in real close, make sure that these areas that I really wanted blocked off were actually blocked off. So that's why I'm like finicking with this piece so much, because I really wanted those pieces to be blocked off. But then as you do that, it looks, again, janky. There's a lot of pieces that are just like overlapping for no reason. It doesn't look, and I guess the word I would say is polite, but I wouldn't say that polite is the good word here. So you know what I mean. But again, I don't really care. I wanted to build this building, and I did so, and we're going to leave it at that. So I will say that at some point, maybe if the glass pieces that I unlock from research, if they're better, or more rounded, then maybe I'll use those. But I also am open to if somebody online has created some sort of glass dome that you can just use as your own blueprint. That's also something that I could look into, or even if they, build their own large-scale igloo or whatever it is, then I will definitely download if possible. But I still have to figure out how to download things from Steam, because I still don't know how. But I figured what I'm gonna do, instead of like go all the way rounded with these glass pieces and hate myself afterwards, instead I'm just going to curve up and then at a point just do straight glass pieces. And honestly, that was the most satisfying part, because it was a lot easier to handle and not as frustrating. Don't mind me, I'm just gonna take a sip of water. Don't want to lose my voice a second time. My God. But this was kind of the other option I figured would be a good sign. And then I think what happened here, because I added that glass piece and then I deleted it, and I thought, I'm getting too sidetracked. I really need to just focus on making sure that all the pieces align with those flat pieces. And so this is where we get some of the jankiest parts of this build. Not only the crooked teeth at the top layer of the snow bricks, but also this glass, because the glass is just overlapping in weird ways, because there are not enough glass pieces that overlap. And again, I think it's just because I don't have certain pieces downloaded, because I haven't researched the mechanic pieces. So maybe at some point to make a dome will be much easier with glass, but not right now. And I don't think I want to revisit this anytime soon, even if I do. I think I want like a little bit of a break before I go back, because it does take a while to build these things. Even though building can be fun, sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, okay, but now I just want to play the game. So just let me play the game. Because I think for me, I think some people, what they'll do is they'll kind of get these games like Sims 4 or this game or Planet Coaster, and their priority is just building. And I tend to do both. I like building, but I don't want to build at the cost of the gameplay. So if it comes to a point where it is kind of intruding on my regular gameplay, then I don't want to invest as much time in it anymore, because I enjoy the playthrough of games as much as I enjoy the building part, but I don't want to lose my creativity of the building because sorry, I should rephrase. I enjoy the creativity of the building, but I also enjoy the relaxation of the playing. So that's kind of what I was going about with this. And obviously there were, some weird pieces like that glass section right there. Funny. Very funny. And I think I did try to course correct on some areas to make the glass like a little bit better, but overall it still looks like some person who was lazy and just decided to put layers on layers, and who was a builder and didn't really put in the effort. That I know it kind of looks like that, but I guess that was me. I was the builder who did that. Anyway, so we're getting close to the end of this build, which I'm very excited because then we get to decorate. Not to say that this wasn't fun. I did enjoy putting the glass pieces down, like that straight lines of just the glass pieces on top. Very satisfying. Felt very good. But again, we're having to finish off these glass pieces. I think what it is when things get too tedious, I do need to just walk away. And I think when it comes to building, this is kind of an issue. And I think I find this even with painting. When things get too tedious with painting, I do want to walk away, but I also know that I have to put in that attention to detail in order to finish it. And I think I also find this with my painting, is sometimes when I put too much attention to the detail, then I can get a little I don't care anymore kind of vibe. This I thought was odd though, because I did add these layers down. I'm like, okay, that's how I'll bridge the gap here. What I thought was odd is later, if we go back, you can see all the glass pieces sticking through. And I swear that I had lined them up so that they'd finish with the top, but I guess not. Anyway, so here I am trying to finish with the pathway. And boy, is this part particularly funny. So I build the pathway because I'm like, oh, but it doesn't look right. I still want it to be a part of the grid. So we tried to build with the grid. The grid doesn't like us. The grid is like, no, bro, you broke our trust once. We don't know if we can trust you again. And so I put all of this down, and then I'm like, what am I doing? I have to put the exhibits down. That's not going to work with the grid we just put down. So we have to delete the entire pathway again. And now we move in the exhibits, and I put them in where I want them to be. So in that way, they're not in the way. I don't know if that made any sense. I also decide to actually duplicate the donation bins that actually match this area, reform the area, or remove, move the entryway into the Timberwolf look-in entrance, and also build a nice pathway for that direction as well. And then I do move some things around because now obviously we've removed that entrance from the other half. So we're going to move the heat lamp. We're going to move certain sections. And now we are finally getting to the pathway. And I still try to maintain with that grid pathway. But at some point, I'm like, it's not going to work in the rest of this room. And I want the entirety of this floor to be the ice floor. So that's where we kind of just go in with the more, I guess, creative part of the flooring. But again, the flooring is dumb. It is straight dumb. It doesn't do what I want it to do. I have to delete it 6 times and it still doesn't do what I want it to do. I'm like, okay, great. But it's fine. We made it work. And I decide to the patches where I leave them open-ended and whatever, I'm going to add plants or decorations. So that is kind of the plan for the areas which I have left between the pathways. And I'm like, yep, we need security in here. Don't want my beautiful ice igloo castle removed. I also originally wanted butterflies in this room, to be fluttering around. Joke's on me. I didn't give it enough space because that is a huge path and I should have probably put that down first. Honestly, what I probably could have done, and maybe we could do it in hindsight, is just remove the pathway, put it down, and then completely remove all the walls, which I already had intention to remove all the walls anyway, but maybe what we could do is that instead. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Maybe we'll change it later, but, you know, I definitely wanted to take some time to actually play the game. All right, so we're getting close to the last leg. I'm just decorating away. I tried to get plants or trees that are unique to the tundra, and specifically the North American tundra, but there are certain pieces where like certain trees, like the lurch, I think it is, that is not North American. I think that is more like South, or not South, it would be like North Asia. So some pieces are just not, you know, they're not. And then like in terms of where the plants are put, I try to put them down on like the snower, the snow block pieces. So that way it doesn't look like there's plants growing from, you know, ice. So I tried to mix in some snow and ice pieces. So in that way it looks like there is a good connection there between the two. And yeah, so we're covering all these pieces with ice, with snow, kind of filling in these gaps that nobody can actually walk on, but that way it doesn't look like, you know, you see some really ugly dead grass, because I hate that. So instead we're just covering up the place with some kind of berries or bushes, ferns, to kind of give a little bit of a depth to these unique places. That particular piece I thought was so interesting because I couldn't put a path there because it just wouldn't connect. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just cover it up with snow, a couple plants there. And I didn't think anyone would actually be able to look at that area. But when we do the playthrough of the next episode, you can actually see people standing in front of the snow pile, able to walk there. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of this particular build video. We're just kind of building up some of these sections, double checking the igloo, feeling really good about it. And then I was like, oh, right, I still have this piece to cover up because we had added in, I think, a gulpy. So I was like, okay, we'll cover it up on the outside. This will be the only piece of the igloo that doesn't make any sense. And then I was like, okay, we'll do a nice little entryway. And obviously at some point we're going to add in polar bears, which I'm very excited for. I'm like, maybe we add like a little icicle to this particular security, just kind of give it attention detail. But we are getting close to the end of this video. I would just like to say now, the next playthrough video should be coming up next week. Thank you so much for watching this video and spending this time with me. I hope whenever you're watching this, where it's morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, I hope that you have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening. My name is Sarah. I am the host of Sarah's Spare Corner. Sarah's Spare Corner encompasses gaming, as well as arts, crafts, various different forms of creativity. Additionally, I like sharing theories, concepts, and ideas, as I am a philosophy major, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye now!